And now I would like to move on and to introduce Madeleine Sophie Ortman. She is a Sacred Heart graduate of Stone Ridge in Washington, D.C., and then also Barrett College. For the last 10 years, she has been the director of the network of Sacred Heart schools in the United States. She retired from that last year. During that time, she organized workshops and consultations on strategic planning. When we were in Malta and in Joigny, you said you wanted strategic planning for the future of AMASC. So in the summer, the national presidents were sent a survey of 4 questions that Madeleine designed. The responses were received. They have been created into survey results, and that is what we will use today to construct strategic planning objectives for AMASC.
While you are still waiting, I need to share with you that I have probably been asked 25 to 30 times in the last 2 days, how do you do strategic planning into what was 45-minute sessions and now have been about 35-minute sessions? And the answer is really very simple. You cannot do it. So hence, we have been working together for about the last 6 months, trying to gather input from your various associations. And that is what you will see either in front of you or I will share with you on the slide, and the translators will translate for you. So it's not imperative that you have a copy, but we thought it would make it more simple. So I will quickly go through the results. Then I am going to share briefly 3 themes that I have heard from the results and from your presidents yesterday, and then hopefully we'll have a few minutes to gather input from you as to what next steps you think AMASC needs to take. So very quickly, the first page of the results that you have really is taken from the AMASC website, because in any kind of strategic planning or any kind of planning, you need to know where you are now, where you are going to be starting from. And hence, I have taken the input from the AMASC website that says that AMASC is a unique worldwide organization of alumnae and alumni who share the privilege of receiving an education based on the love of God and of one another. This education has fostered within the receivers respect of the uniqueness of each individual with different gifts and talents, the realization of the responsibility to develop and use these talents for the benefit of all, and a strong sense of social justice which impels to action. That's where AMASC says it is now. And I'm not going to read the rest of these 2 pages to you. You can see them on the website. The first question that was asked on that survey is, what do you see AMASC looking like in 5 to 7 years? And these were the results on this one slide that we received in a summary kind of way. An international association that has weight in global laws, influence at the United Nations. Young alums will join and lead face to face. And we have certainly just seen in those 2 presentations that were so exciting this morning of how young alum are being involved. A group of caring individuals who are aware of and care for the vulnerable in our world. alums who are friends and in solidarity with each other, a global partnership that provides spiritual guidance, an organization that continues spirituality and philosophy of St. Madeleine Sophie Berra, a connected family of the Sacred Heart, a unified association among associations, an organization that exchanges ideas regarding programs between developing countries, and a unifying force, a place to freely communicate and build strong, long-term relationships. That is, in sum, what you as association presidents and you as associations want AMASC to look like over the next several years. The next question that was asked, and I'm going to go through these very quickly, even though I know I'm supposed to speak as slowly as possible for the translators. I will quickly go through the strategies that you have suggested together. Define what is AMASC and what is its role. Enhance technology and use social media. Introduce practical projects. Ask young alums what would entice them to attend. Sisterhood, brotherhood should be exploited. Pare down the costs of participation. Fundraising to offset some costs. Start at root level. Each school must make students very well aware of the great Sacré-Cœur family to which they belong. Need a more effective contact and increased interest, aiming to better understand and respect our different cultures. Inform, train about world reality through articles, stories, and events. Be more attentive to educational movements. Provide instruction for lay people who teach in Sacred Heart schools about the philosophy of St. Madeleine Sophie. Reach out to different associations around the world to involve them in a commitment of belonging. Try to incorporate traditions such as the congregations with a more modern but valuable approach. Incorporate silent retreats following the Ignatian model. Continue holding periodically the World Congress. It is essential to strengthening close ties, exchanging information, and learning from one another. Make conscious effort to pass on from generation to generation the Sacred Heart spirit. Classes held in schools to study the life and teachings of St. Madeleine Sophie. Organize workshops by alumni associations for members together and confirm shared values and a sense of mission which were instilled in them in their course of their education. Enhance AMASC's website, such as adding a message board in order to provide more opportunities to exchange opinions about the future of the Sacred Heart. Set up meetings and conferences where relationships among the alumni and alumni can be built. Form volunteer groups to help developing countries with their social issues. Break the deadlock in Asia, perhaps reviewing Japan's opposition to an Asia director on the AMASC board. Maybe in future the directors are not linked to a geographic region but to levels of development. For example, developed and less developed countries. Clarify who does what. Include youth in the males, even recent graduates, And finally, involve youth directly in AMASC activities, taking them into account as they will be our future leaders. Then you will see that we asked a question, what other thoughts do you have about AMASC in the future? We believe that AMASC should keep in mind the 5 goals of Sacred Heart education and be guided by them in all deliberations. It is important for the AMASC leadership to be relevant and to delineate functions. Members need to see a concrete goal and work towards it. Short-term projects are more effective in order to get people involved. I think that the AMASC team should be a representative from different continents, who could better know the national presidents and give them the support needed. I don't mean financial support, but the running of their national and regional associations, as well as being more aware what AMASC stands for. The national associations of Latin America need for greater cohesion in the sense of coming together to provide, whenever possible, in addition to the quadrennial AMASC's other meetings, aiming for the exchange of experiences and knowledge between the ex-alums of various nationalities. I see it as extinct. The average age of the people who attend meetings and festivities is 65. As I said to the presidents yesterday, I don't think we're all really that old. Younger than that are not interested since they didn't have the same formation and education that we had. I admire all of you for trying so hard to keep it alive, and I also admire the ladies that give their time and efforts to maintain it. They are a few, and they are always the same. Qualification for membership in AMASC should be limited to the alumnae and alumni of Sacred Heart schools. It should not be changed to include others, such as parents of the Sacred Heart students, for the sake of augmenting the number. Being a multinational group of associations, each member facing a different situation at home, it is unrealistic to expect all the member national associations to work together for a particular cause. AMASC should not involve itself in NP. I was very impressed with the first global conference I attended in Malta. It is with great enthusiasm that I will attend the one in Phoenix. However, as Director of Asia, I am disappointed that I have achieved very little for AMASCO related activities. We need to promote more activities involving us, make us feel like one big family, Sacré-Cœur Homelink. This project is to exchange our homes, either vacation or habitual. They could rent for a modest amount. Only the link between the two would be interested alumni. Another project that has happened to me is Grannies in Action. How many alumni, unmarried widows, etc., could provide valuable company time, with or without pay, as many older people suffer from loneliness, ironically in this era of communication. I mean, change the city or country. Visit people forgotten who need our love, whether or not former students. There needs to be less bureaucracy in the association. Continents divide and delegate work by area, lack contact with the world to which we are conciliars. Hospitality is important and has a place within the executive boards, exchanging ideas and achievement. Not all exchanges being made in the colleges and university are positive experiences, and hence the importance of resuming the great work of our hospitality network. And so, my question is to all of us, what do we need to do to not only listen with one heart, but to hear with one heart and to act with one heart? As I have looked at these materials over time, there are three themes that jump out at me that I would like to ask you to share thoughts at this point to enrich the input we are gathering for the strategic plan. And those three themes are, number one, I think it's imperative that we have clarity about the different levels of alumni participation. So we need to look at what happens at the local school. We need to look at what happens therefore, from that to the regional organizations, then to the national organizations, and then to the international organization of which we are gathered today. Number one. Number two, obviously there is a need to involve young alums in a variety of ways. And we've certainly seen a great deal this morning about how that is currently being done, and we need to get some input about how that can even grow bigger and better. And finally, I think what I saw throughout the material is that we need a unifying project, not just for young alums, but for everyone in AMASC. And my hope is that tomorrow afternoon, when the panel talks about healthy waters, that may be the project we want to jump on, because we will have a lot more information about that. So what I'd like to do is open presentation to the floor and ask for suggestions. And when I'm saying suggestions, I'm thinking very specifically, for example, the International Heads Meeting, I believe next year, is in Mexico. I hope that the new leadership of AMASC is on that agenda, because we need to educate our heads of school as to the imperative involvement of alumni and alumni in all that we do. I think that we want to encourage different kinds of exchange among students in an international picture that we, in some cases, have. I think we want to make sure that the alumni associations in our local schools are educated about the importance of AMASC. So specific recommendations like that could be helpful as we pull this strategic planning to a close. So I'm going to ask anyone who would like to speak. I think somebody's got a microphone. There are a couple of them. But remember, when people are speaking, if you would hear what they have to say, remember, we're listening and we're hearing with one heart. When you're listening to what they have to say, I hope you're able to hear, if I agree with their recommendation, what do I need to do at my level to make it happen? Because if we expect just the leadership of AMASC to make it happen, all due respect to them, it's not going to happen. We need to make it happen. So if anyone has thoughts they would like to share, we would very much like to open the floor.